Well, it's about +6 on the evening of Wednesday, 20 whatever it is, 22nd of August. So we got out of one low yesterday, which gave us a bit of a posting. Been sailing south today, and now we're running into another one. 2 hours ago, these huge classical arms of cirrus starting to appear in the south. Absolute, straight out of the textbook depression, and we're sailing south straight into it. So I decided to tack. I needed to get to the west anyway because we still haven't had a good enough tack to get round the oil rigs further south. So I'm going off to the west now, and you can see behind me the first of the dirty weather starting to come through. Weather going off to the west will actually steer me clear, I have no idea, but it's one of those situations. I mean, I'm not a great one for weather routing, particularly in this boat. I just don't go fast enough. But I could not, in all conscience, just carry on a southerly tack straight into what I could see coming when I have the option of going on the other tack, going west, and with this depression probably going northeast. At least I might have a good chance of missing the centre and missing the worst of it. If we come round, oops, sorry, bucking a bit here. Just clean out that window. So ahead the sky is a bit better, and that's what I was heading for. Kind of heading slightly north of west at the moment, but I figured that it was better to have this storm on my port quarter than on my starboard bow. And as I'm coming along, as I said, this stuff is gradually starting to cross behind me. For the moment, I'm not bothered about getting back to Whitehills. Well, I am, but that's not the priority at the moment. The priority is to get west, firstly to try and avoid the worst of what, by the arms of cirrus that was coming out, looked like a pretty severe storm. And also just to get some more westing under my belt. I want to get to the Greenwich latitude, which has been constantly evading me for the last few days. So I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone here, as it were. But there we are. I didn't get much sleep last night, or today. Last night was in very heavy weather, so it'd be interesting to see what happens tonight. Well, it's the morning of Thursday, 23rd of August, and we're still battling a very settled and persistent southwest wind here, along with the current. There is 62 north. I just want to talk about the navigational side of this. If you're not interested in navigation, you might want to skip this bit. But anyway, here's 62 north, and at 8 o'clock this morning we were just a little bit south. We've crossed it, where that dot is there, and we've been coming down on a southerly tack. Trouble is, it's taking us further and further east, and was going to take us well to the east of the Magnus oil rig, which I don't want to do. I don't want to get too far to the east here. You've got to keep to the west when you're coming down here. So I've tacked this morning, and we're now on a westerly bore. We're actually just making a little bit of southing as well. So we're coming across at this kind of angle, and what I'm heading for is this meridian, which is Greenwich, 0 degrees longitude. So if we then come down there, we'll see that this puts us about midway between Shetland to the west and the oil rigs to the east. So I'm kind of, if I get to the Greenwich meridian, then this wind persists, I'll tack down it, as it were. It keeps my options open. If the wind goes to the west, I'm okay. If the wind goes to the east, I'm okay. But I don't want to commit myself too far either way at this point, and I particularly don't want to commit myself too far to the east. As far as all these oil rigs are concerned, this big oil field, I tend to think of it as an island. And the Magnus rig is the kind of northwest headland, and then coming down here we have two more, the Tern and the find it the Heather, which are the westerly headlands, and there's a kind of little bay in between those. At an absolute pinch, in the right conditions, I would consider crossing behind the Magnus oil rig, because there's plenty of space here. But under no circumstances would I voluntarily pass behind any of these more southerly ones, because they've got other rigs tucked in right behind them. I mean, there's a whole mass of rigs here. So I tend to think of this as solid land, basically, which I have to get past. So at the moment, if the wind stays as it is, the plan is I will keep going west. It's going to take me a while. I've done some calculations. It could take me about 16 or 17 hours to get to 0 degrees, and I'll probably hit it somewhere around about here. I'm making a bit of southing, as I've said, and then again, this is all dependent on the wind staying exactly as it is, which it may well not, but you can only plan to the current wind. Then once I'm there, then I can tack down here, tack across, tack, and so on, work my way down, way down 0 degrees longitude. The other problem, which I've already mentioned many times, apart from this wind against us, is that we've got the North Atlantic current, which tends to sweep up past the northwest side of Shetland. It's coming against the land and then it sweeps up again. So we're kind of in jail in a big way here, but there's nothing I can do about that, and there's nothing I can do except plan a sensible strategy to keep making the best of it until such time as I get some kind of wind shift that gives me a decent slant one way or the other. Well, it's the morning of Friday the 24th of August. Our 54th day at sea. Beautiful morning, sun coming up on the port quarter, calm blue sea. There to windward, some nice cumulus clouds, which I hope will bring us just a bit more wind. Our very awkward southwesterly, right on the nose, south-southwesterly, gave up the ghost about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, quite unexpectedly, just suddenly died away and was replaced by this very, very light breeze from the west, which has gone round a little bit to west-northwest. It's actually a perfect breeze for us. We're sailing a perfect course. The only trouble is it's been very, very, very light breeze, and in fact just in the last few minutes it's just starting to pick up as these clouds come in, and I can see a bit of a rain squall over there, so maybe it's going to fill in a little bit. Just needs to be up a notch or two and it'd be perfect. But we've not stopped moving, and we have the full Triple H turbo set here, all 7 panels, stretching way, 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 way up there. Which have kept us moving along, even though the breeze has been almost imperceptible at some times during the night. We've always been making at least a knot or so. In fact, since that breeze set in at 5 o'clock last night, we've made about 16 or 17 miles of longitude to the south, which doesn't sound much, but it all helps. And I just have a feeling now, with these nice clouds starting to move across, that it might just be a little bit stronger. We are 60 miles from Mingming, the northern tip of Shetland on the Isle of Unst. Who knows, we might pick it up later today if the weather continues very clear. We've passed the first of the oil rig headlands I talked about, the Magnus oil rig. We've passed that without any problem, thanks to the shift in the wind. And if the wind continues where it is, we won't have any problem at all with the other 2 headlands, the Tern oil rig and the Heather oil rig, because we are pulling very steadily over to the east. We're now, I think, in about 33 degrees east, so getting close to the Greenwich meridian. So there we are. We've had everything over the last few days: storms, headwinds, not a complete calm, but very, very light wind that we've got at the moment. But every day we make a few miles, and I think that Whitehills is round about 250 miles ahead now. With good wind, and if this wind got up to a nice force 4 and stayed where it was, we'd cover that easily in 3 days. But as things are at the moment, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, and just a couple of corrections there. It's the problem of making videos when you just got up. It's still a bit groggy. I said that we've made 16 miles of longitude. Of course I meant latitude. We've made 60, well I think it's probably a bit more now, but we've come down 16 miles of latitude since the wind changed. And then I said that we're pulling over to the east, and of course I meant we're pulling over to the west. So apologies for those mistakes. I often, when I'm making these videos, make errors like that. I don't know why. I suppose it's because nothing is ever rehearsed or thought about. I just switch on the camera and start talking. Anyway, there we are. Just to add the chart to that last clip, there's 62 north that we passed yesterday. We've come down to here. We are now about where my finger is. So this chart has been so much used, it's getting holes in it. There's the Magnus oil rig, which is now very slightly to our northeast. And we're coming down roughly this line here, so heading towards the Greenwich meridian. The Tern oil field then is right over here relative to where we will be, and the heather is there. And if I pan back, you can see here's the northern tip of the Shetlands. So we are, where are we? Lost it. We're there. So we're coming down on that sort of line. What I can actually sense as well is that now that we're to the northeast of the Shetlands, I can just sense that we're losing the effect of the North Atlantic current, which tends to sweep round here and up like that, and we're gradually moving out of it. I just don't detect any sense that we've got a current against us at the moment. So, and as we come further south, then we'll come more and more out of the influence of the North Atlantic current. But of course, we'll start getting some tides down here. Not big tides, but they will make a difference. Well, I don't very often get to film from this angle, but seeing as it's a nice calm day, I may as well give it a go. So what I'm actually standing in the forehatch, standing on some of my food containers down there, and if I squeeze around the other way, there we are. So there's the bow and there's the mast boot. The point about this though is that I never ever have to come along the side decks of the yacht, because if I need to do any repairs at the mast or do any repairs at the forward end of the sail, then I can do them from here by just sticking my head out of the hatch. There's the main halyard, the yard hauling, yard hauling paddle, the luff hauling paddle, which are the only three lines we need, and these tension the lazy jacks come topping lifts. Here's the boom junk rig. You don't need a heavy boom, it's just two bits of wood laminated together. This rope here is the mast lift, that just is tied around here with a bowline, and that just holds the boom up. Then we have all the paddles for the boom, and then all the battens going all the way up there. So you can see the luff of the mainsail. So I can always reach as far forward as I would ever need to for any running repairs. The wind is still very, very light. We're just coasting along, but these clouds to windward are very, very slowly getting closer, and I'm hoping they'll bring just a little bit more wind. We're just in a sort of 0 to 1 here. If it was 1 to 2, we'd be absolutely fine. You're getting along very nicely. So I'm relying on these clouds here to give us a bit of a lift, both in terms of speed and a bit of a push up to windward too. Squeezing around again. We'll look down the side decks, and with the control lines, the main halyard goes to the top of the cabin, give it in a good position for hauling, because that's the one that needs quite a bit of strength when you're getting near the top of the sail. This one here, the inside one, the yard hauling power that pulls the yard into the mast once you've got it to the height you want it, and then the luff hauling power with which you can tighten the luff and set the balance of the mainsail, how far forward or aft you want the luff relative to the mast. And then this is the starboard topping lift. And over here on the port side, we've only got one line, which is the port topping lift, so we can alter those. LED nav lights. Little 20-watt panel, and also then we've also got here the central hatch, so if I need to do anything on the middle of the sail, I can do it from there. And then we've got the main hatch aft. So the idea with these three hatches, apart from the fact they give light to the boat, and if you need it, plenty of ventilation. Not that you need it in the Arctic. Is that you can actually look after the rig, do any repairs, maintenance, whatever, without actually having to come on deck. You can do it all from the inside of the boat. Right, so I'm going to go back down inside and close this hatch.